Okay, I constantly am getting new news funneled to me about how the automotive industry is always changing. And I've gotten really crazy news that pisses me the fuck off that I'd love to make a video about, but I probably legally can't yet. So eventually, when it blows over through the slow legal system, I will talk to everyone about it because of how fucking ridiculous the industry can get, or just people as an industry, as a general idea, because it is just laughable, ridiculous. What a world we live in of absolute craziness and lunacy clowns. Oh my god. The original topic on what I wanted to talk about for this video was, which has nothing to do with what I was saying just before, was now that I'm all wired and crazy, it's perfect time because now my unfiltered opinions are going to come out and I'm not going to just think super in depth and just say what I feel based on what I see. Like, everything is my opinion. Don't take anything. Just take everything with a grain of salt. I'm not the smartest person in the world. I don't fucking know everything. Just hear me out, okay? That's all I'm asking. Just give me some of your time, please. I wanted to make a video on, should women be in the blue collar workforce? And more particularly, just, I can't speak on all of them, even though I kind of understand how they work because they're all mostly man dominated. Mostly I want to focus on, should women be in the automotive industry? No, they should not. And the reality is that, like, let's just be honest with ourselves. In our society, based on the structures that we've developed, we should really be doubling down on what makes us good and efficient rather than trying to incorporate new variables, because, like, women are often more creative thinkers. They want to be involved with more things. They like people. So women will tend to want to get into things they feel like that can give them that source of attention that, they so desperately crave. Now, because of that mentality, it keeps them in this like limbo state in blue collar jobs because they're not exactly good at this, they're not exactly good at this, and they're kind of just there, and they kind of just slow things down. They're not really a beneficial or positive aspect of when it comes to really anything in the industry. I mean, the women that I've seen, there are good women out there that, here's the deal, because I need to stay focused because I can go off the rails really quick. Let me just explain one thing before men and women get mad at me for just saying women shouldn't do something. There is a place for women in the blue collar industry. It takes a very special and particular type of person. One aspect, the women who I see who are actually doing well and striving on the automotive industry are lesbians. People who like, girls who like girls. And the reality of it is, as much as we don't want to say it, is they have more masculine traits. You can bust their balls, no pun intended, because they don't have any. And they don't care. And you can laugh with them and talk shit and just be cool and normal because they're like guys, even though they're women. That's one aspect. Then there's the woman who is more female, feminine-like, that really just doesn't have any type of ulterior motive to feel like she needs to prove it to the world or prove it to, the people who said she couldn't do it or her friends or whatever. It's just the girl that feels like she should be able to prove it to herself. And she knows that she's going to be the odd one out. She has this understanding that, like in a movie, like she has this understanding that she knows she's a woman in a field that is completely against her and her mentality. Like she knows that she's gonna get her balls busted and people are gonna talk shit and people are gonna say, well, you're just a girl, you can't do it. And she knows this, but she's going to try her hardest, and she's not gonna do it with any type of level of aggression and say, well, I can do it better than you because I think I can. She's emotionally mature. There is a type of girl out there that can do it. And every once in a great while, a story will come out or there will be that girl who does it. And that's a testament. That's a real girl right there who can do it. But that's not really what I'm talking about in this video. I'm talking about the massive influx of the women shift into the industry that don't know what they're doing, because a lot of them are just we need to have a joint of, more women who work in the industry. Like I worked at a Firestone, and we had this district manager, and she thought she knew everything about like how things should be run. She doesn't really understand anything on how things should be run. She doesn't know how cars operate or function, but she is a district manager position. She climbed her corporate ladder. She gets her company card and car, and she just buys pizza for everyone once in a while to keep everyone somewhat happy, and she just cares about numbers. But that mentality, and it's with guys and girls, where it makes it a problem with girls is they don't understand the basic concepts of how a shop functions. So when certain numbers and aspects aren't hit, it's like there's a problem here. It's like that way with guys, but I've seen that it happens less often with corporate controlled men than it does with women. And I think the reality is that men on some level and a corporate aspect, maybe not on a deeper level that a mechanic or an engineer would have a greater understanding of the actual amount of work that goes into something. So even though we're not hitting that number and they're upset with us, there still is a specific level of understanding to where, well, okay, that makes sense. Whereas with women in positions like that, they aren't understanding. It doesn't make sense. It's just like, well, you're a guy, just do it, figure it out. You should already be doing it, kind of, I guess. That's one aspect, and that's not even in the mechanical aspect. That's more of the corporate aspect. In the mechanical aspect, there are these girls that come in, and I think it has a lot to do with the younger generation, but yet I do see older girls that have that same kind of mentality, very entitled, well, I can do it just as good as a guy can, and they're just very annoying and chatty, and they talk too much about things that don't matter, drama, gossip, and it's just like, I mean, the men at the shop I work at are just, it's like a fucking soap opera. So, I mean, it's no better. It is better because you can say, go fuck yourself. But, if you try, good luck saying that to, a girl in modern day times, because that's not going to go over well for you. So it creates this like really weird dichotomy, because it's like, well, I need to treat you like a woman, but I can't really treat you like a woman because, I need to treat you kind of like a guy, and I need to be a little bit more blunt, maybe a little less polite, and kind of get my point across, because it's like, well, I need A, B, and C. And as it turns out, every single time, like, for example, again, I'm not even on the mechanical aspect yet. I'll get to that. So let's go to the service advisor part. So in my short experience of being a mechanic, for what I've seen is that you go to a male service advisor and you say, I need A, B, and C. And then they go, okay, no problem. Let's get it done. Let's do it. Great. Let's get this show on the road. And then if something happens, it's okay. Well, this is what we need to do to fix it. A, B, and C. Perfect. Great. Let's do it. When you do that with a girl, it's like, well, are you sure? Well, what if we do this? It's what if we do that? Well, we can try and do this. And it's like, listen, the way that the company structures, I don't agree with nowadays. I feel like a woman would do better in more of a private company, where it's not corporate controlled and you can control how to run the business. And I think the mind of a woman and the creative aspects that they have, where coming up with different or more complex ideas, uh, could be a benefit. But when you're working in a corporate company, or just any type of corporation at all, and they're kind of we're trying to keep this going like on a conveyor belt, like we work at McDonald's, this is how you make the burger, but they're trying to be creative about it. It's like, well, you're wasting time, you're wasting the customer's time, your time, my time. We're losing money. Just get me what I need, and that's it. Like, we don't need to try and fix problems that don't exist yet. We don't need to, well, like, let's just do it and get it done, and then we'll talk about how it made us feel later. Let's not waste valuable resources, because we need to get these cars out of here because people need to go. We don't need to waste time, and then we don't need to gossip about it either. About what happened and how this happened, and oh, what a mess. And it's just like, we're all fucked. Stop making a bigger problem than it actually is. Like, let's just kind of get it done. And I've seen that more with women. It just creates, again, this like weird conversation to where, here's my reality. This is what I do. In my short experience on working on cars, like, I'm not the best by any means. There are people that are way better than me. I've seen that, we kind of need to just, as a guy, not focus on the woman even being there as like almost like a solution. And it's not just to shun her out. Like, you can acknowledge her existence, but like a lot of guys, even now, are very avoidant when it comes to even talking about like work related things, or like how tickets should be and ROs should be. Like, if a girl, like, I'll just be honest, every single time I've gotten a ticket from a girl in the industry, I have always encountered some type of issue. Very few times have I ever just had it go streamlined and it worked fine. I have problems with guys, but it's not like problems that were caused by, like, one party didn't do something right or wrong. It was just like, oh, that didn't work. Like, or I broke this bolt or something like that. Or like, oh, the parts guys sent this right part, but they put an old part back in the box. Like, I don't know, like anything. Like, that's something that's out of control, versus on the surface level of just being able to communicate with the people around you, that I've had more problems just getting to the point to where I can do what my job is with girls. It's been more difficult. So whenever I would get an ROs or something from a girl, it's like, I'll look at the car and I'll see what it needs. I'll put it down as a recommendation, but I'm not putting any hope or merit into it to try and sell any type of ticket or RO, because it just wastes my time. And I've seen the more and more I've tried to remedy that situation, it just kept getting worse, to where it just makes me not want to take your ROs or your tickets at all. So I'll just kind of do what the job requires, and say that the car might need this and that, and then I'll move on to another RO, just to kind of get it out. And because it just creates more problems and congestion, that we don't end up actually getting anything done, and nothing's happening. There's a clog in the conveyor belt. So that's what I do, and that's kind of what a lot of guys do. Yeah, I mean, so on a mechanical level, girls are pretty intelligent. Again, with the way that they think first of all, I mean, if you want to look at it from a biological standpoint, because I know that's what all the people love to talk about nowadays is the biological standpoint on women versus men. It's like, well, women can be mechanics. Being a mechanic is demanding on your body, but it is a field where you can manipulate objects around you to work in your favor to not put as much of a toll on your body if that's what you are able to do. Ironically, women tend to want to brute force their way through. And you would think that because they're a woman, they would maybe think smarter, not harder, or work smarter, not harder. When in fact it's quite the opposite. Women tend to put in more physical effort than a guy would to try and compensate for the lack of physical effort. Instead of trying to use that creative aspect in every other aspect when it comes to talking to other people, they tend to only use that type of, coming up with complex solution mentality when it comes to associating or talking to other people. But when it comes to doing any type of physical labor, they tend to not think outside the box and creatively. They tend to use more brute force and physicality to get the job done because they believe that there is a lack of. Now, what's interesting to me about that is it's almost like women are trying to be stronger physically to the sense to where they want to compete with men, but they don't realize that if the goal that is set in front of you is that you wanted to compete with a man to do the same job, then you might need to think smarter about it. Now, you can say that they are over the grand scheme of things because there are more women in the industry now that are, that are putting themselves in the industry. So you can say that the way that they got into the industry and kind of injected themselves there is a way that they've used their mental capacity to climb corporate chains and ladders and get themselves in a field in which they so were not a part of before that, well, now they're getting the upper hand. And it shouldn't be a competition, but I think they're treating it like a competition. It's just very strange to me because it's almost like, what are you competing for? Guys don't even want to work under the rules of men to work long hours, underpaid hours, and hurt ourselves and be in wheelchairs by the time we're 50. Like, even guys don't want to do that. It makes me laugh and interested on why girls even want to be a part of that. We don't. So I never really understood why. Yeah, I never really understood why that was a thing. I still don't, and I'm kind of confused by it now because I just don't. Because here's the reality. The reality is I don't think they see it that way. I just think that a lot of the women who want to put themselves in the field see some type of, they either are seeing some type of maybe inferiority. Maybe they aren't getting enough attention in their life. Maybe their fathers haven't loved them. I know that the one's not crazy, but there has to be, I'm not smart enough. I can probably break it down. If somebody was sitting across from me and I could talk to them back and forth about it, we could really just try and learn the dichotomy of the female mind and understand and break it down how it works. But for the sake of this video where I'm talking to myself and kind of just spitballing what I think, what comes in the top of my head, these are the conclusions that I'm coming up with on the fly. I could be 100%, 110% wrong because there's so many topics I want to touch on that I end up not being able to super analyze every single little nook and cranny as much as I'd like to. But it is just interesting because, like, I just don't. I think in a functional society, people doubling down on what it is that they're good at is fine. Obviously, like things like greed and, envy and hate, all the negative attributes of people, that multiplied with, what it is doubling down on what you're good at will, turn you into a very bad person. But I think as a general consensus that if you're doing what it is that you're good at, and you're doubling down on what it is that you're good at, and especially your place in society, then it actually is like all more power to you. Like there's no men lining up to do a lot of female things in society. And the reality of it is, I mean, like, what is a female thing? Like, even that's interesting because let's think about that. What is a female thing in society? I would say things like cutting hair, but even, I mean, men can do that fine, no problem. Um, I'd say even things like being, doing nails, but even still, if men had to do that, which they shouldn't, they could. So it's just like, I don't get, women tend to have jobs that are often more, in my opinion, creative. Like women will work at doing jobs like cutting hair because with hair there's style, and I think women like how things look. Men do too, but I think that the way that women go about it is that it's an self-expressional thing. It is also that way for men. I mean, the way that I think is I think cars are a form of self-expression, but cars come in the form of objects, whereas women's come in the form of people. Like women do nails, hair, clothes, outward expressions of yourself as a human being, physicality. Whereas men, it's more objects, is what I'm seeing. Because I think in a self-expression of me yes, it's how I present myself physically, but also how I present myself through the objects, through the manipulation of objects, through the world. So that's what I think. And I think that there isn't a whole lot of room for that in modern day automotive industries. Girls should be able to have their place in the automotive industry. It would probably work better under not, I wouldn't say microscope, but like more tight knit automotive businesses, like family owned and operated. Because I think what would be interesting to me, so back in I think it was the 1950s, the car manufacturers back then actually had women design, I believe, a lot of the interiors for the cars that were coming out. And the reason why is because only women really knew what they would have wanted in a car, like, having a holder to put your gloves in, having a type of the way that the glove boxes work to put like food on from a drive-in food place that you go and eat at in your car, when that was starting to become a thing back in the day. Like putting a place for your umbrella. Like I saw that video. I think people, if they know what I'm talking about, you'll know the video that I'm talking about. And they designed the different type of etchings in the seats, and how the panels should look and how the dash should look. Like they really, because that to them, it's like clothing on the car. So it's interesting why, and they did a phenomenal, and what was good about that, and even men appreciated it, is that it was good. It looked great. And I think it really narrowed down what made women good at what they do. And men focus on the mechanical aspect, because if it was a man who designed a car, it would be a little uncomfortable, probably a little cold. It would have probably a seat in it, no carpet, an engine and transmission that's really reliable, and it would be done in more of an engineering sense than a comfortability and stylistic sense. Yes, men have style, but we have style in the sense of where leather jacket, flipped up, we think it's cool, and we want to paint it black and have it loud, and like that's a style that we like. but it's not really. Women tend to like more of that refinement style. Like women do like the loud things and are like, oh, that's cool, I like that. But I think a lot of women tend to like a more refinement. Maybe that's just me. I could be 100%, 10% wrong. Um, but the women who often get into the industry tend to have what's interesting about it. Who keeps walking outside? What's interesting about it is that you do get this influx of feminine women in the industry, but they have some type of masculine traits, and it's like they're not enough masculine traits to where they would be in. I don't have lack of better term. They have so many. They have more masculine traits than a typical woman, but they're not exactly on the level of being a very masculine, like lesbian type, because a lot of the lesbians who I see do extremely well in the industry are pretty much just men because they talk shit, they say everything like a fucking dude, and you can almost not differentiate between them because you're like, and you end up calling them dude even though they're fucking chicks. It's weird, but it's like, imagine that, right? Perfect world. But it's like almost the influx of women that are coming in have this weird like mix of femininity when it's time to be feminine, but also masculine when it's time to be masculine. But the problem is that they what I'm seeing with these girls is that I don't know the word for it, but it looks like they're conflicting with each other because it's almost like it's almost like they can't choose what they want. I mean, everyone's probably going to say, well, you're talking about modern day feminism. And it's just like, well, I don't know. Is it modern day feminism? It could be. Yeah, I mean, it probably is. I'm just overthinking it. But I just think that, like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm thinking. It's the inability to choose between your different aspects. Because women just don't. Even the women that I've talked to about understanding mechanical objects, it's like they do the job, but they don't exactly understand the mechanical essence of what it is that they're doing. They're just doing it to do it. But what's funny is that 90% of the time, they don't even enjoy it. So it's like, why are you doing it? And it's like, well, we're doing it to prove a point. And it's like, in what point is that exactly? You know, you're proving a point to yourself that you can do a job that you dislike, but you stay in that job, make less money, make things worse, and end up having people despise you because they don't want you to be around because you're annoying. And then it's just all pointed the fingers at you that it's your fault. And it's just like, what are you doing this for? I think about this a lot. Why do that to yourself? What's interesting to me is that even back when I worked at a Firestone, all of the company pictures that they'd have on their websites were always women working on cars, and they make up like 1% maybe of like the total like makeup of who works in the industry. But it's like the way they have it set up is that you'll have usually one in every single store to kind of like space them out to say, yeah, there are women here. But it's almost like putting a handicap on all the men that work there. I mean, listen, all the fucking men that I've worked with in the automotive industry are fucking more cunts than, I'm not even gonna say it, but they're fucking they're the most bipolar fucking piece of shit people I've ever worked with in any fucking industry. It's insane. These fucking guys hate their fucking lives. Why the fuck do these women want to work with them? Like, I don't even want to work with them. Why the fuck do you guys want to do that? To prove a point? Listen, honey, it ain't worth it. Just cut your fucking losses. Go, like, I'm not trying to be fucking, here comes my inner misogyny. Like, go back to fucking working in the kitchen. Listen, you will enjoy it better. All right? Sometimes I want to just fucking be the one in the kitchen because I can't fucking stand listening to half the fucking shit that guys that I see or talk to on a daily basis have to say, because I feel like me as a person individually is surrounded by fucking idiots and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm just stuck on this planet. And it's like, well, that's a whole nother problem because I have to find, what makes me happy, because we live in America and, we have to fucking work for that American dream that nobody fucking has anymore and can't get. So it's just like we're fucking working for nothing. We're just working to work at this point. But yeah, I don't know. I need to figure that out on a personal level. But it's just like, I don't know. Women are supposed to fucking listen. You women are supposed to be smarter than men. All right. You work. You score higher academically. You have better. You're supposed to have more mature path at a younger age than a man would. Like, how do you guys not see this shit? Like, just stay in your own lanes because you're just making it worse for everybody. Like, just like, I don't know. Now I'm just fucking venting and complaining. The reality is no. No, I don't think women should be working in any blue collar field. Like, there is nuance to that. It's like, should they? Well, it depends on how you're looking at it. If you just have like a total like capitalistic mentality, then, well, actually no, I take that back. If it's a capitalistic mentality, then maybe, because I mean the girl designers who were designing the interiors on cars, they did a great job back then. Nowadays, I don't know who's designing them, but what the fuck? I mean, the whole idea is like, what's funny is that we're masking, like we say simplistic design, like everyone wants to have that simplistic design, but it's simplistic. It's actually complicated and over engineered, covered by the face of simplicity. Whereas back then it was in the 50s and 60s, and it wasn't just due to technological in advancement. It was, well, we need to make something practical and simple and something that looks good. Like, that was the goal. Now it's like, well, we need to make something practical and simple that looks good, but we can't do that because of the laws that govern us. So it needs to be complicated and crazy and cheap to make, while also trying to look good to appeal to people. So it's like complete bullshit now. But it's like, yeah, it's weird. So yeah, no. Do I think women should be working in blue collar industry, in the automotive industry? No. As a general consensus, no. I think that women should be doubling down on what it is that they're actually good at. And I think that just even working regular retail jobs, working in clothing industries, I don't know, anything, just something other than hurting your own body and doing something that is like done in the essence of like sticking it to men, or done in the essence of, I feel like I have to prove myself to somebody. It's just like, at the end of the day, it's just like fucking, like, just like everyone, I don't know, like, just, yeah, just don't. I don't think so. Do what you gotta do, though. Natural selection, not in the term of, who's going to die out first, but natural selection in the sense of, or I wouldn't call it natural selection then if that's the case. I don't know. I don't know. I talk very weird. Not natural selection, but the natural course of things will change because it's just how the balance of life works. So whatever natural due course is going to happen will happen sooner or later. And then the industry will do a course correction. It's plummeting right now because not enough people are getting paid. And it doesn't really help the fact that, I think women are a small issue when it comes to that. They're probably 10% of that problem. I don't think they cause a lot of the problems. This is more on a cultural level, this conversation. So when it comes to the economic instability growth of the industry, I don't think women are too much to blame. But the whole conversation point was to talk about just women from a individual standpoint, not a general consensus or economical standpoint, and how it affects the industry. Because it does, but just not a lot as I think it does. I could be wrong. The small percentage of women that are in industry could be, turn out to be a lot of negative impact in it. But, I could be wrong. I don't know. Yeah, everyone's underpaid. It's just not really a good industry to get into anyway. So, yeah. No, I don't think they should work in the industry. I think it just causes too many problems for men and women. And I don't think the structure on which the automotive industry was designed was able to support women in the mechanical aspect, or at least just the way that modern day women mentality is I don't think that their mentality is in any demand for any industry. So it's if there's no need for you in this climate, then how do you do, well, you have to make a need. And it's do you make a need by causing chaos and tyranny and infrastructure collapse to restructure the industry around you? It's well, people need their cars fixed, so we should continue to do what we should backtrack 20 years, do what works, and then think, now that we see the results of what happened over that period of time, we should take a different approach. That, in my opinion, is how I feel things should be done. We do our limited run, and I think we should do this for, let's do 5 years. Could be longer, could be less. We could develop an argument and a debate on what the optimal range of, obviously thousands of years would be great, because then, but, obviously, society's technological, you have to take into consideration so many things like technological advancement, how society interacts around you. But what I think is we should do things in increments to where we come out with this line and we do that for the next couple of years. And if we see the direction it's not working, well, let's go back to what did work, and then let's change our approach to then do it again. But instead, we kind of do every single time something is implemented technologically, especially in the automotive industry, it often is done in a damage control sense. It's this car sucks, it's not working, the infrastructure's not right, everything's not right. Instead of taking a step back, going back to what we're good at, we're doing damage control, and we're just trying to come up with new things, and fuck, we need to figure this out, and then we're stressing, and it's oh, thank God it worked. And it's well, unfortunately our laws and political climate have something to do with that. But when it comes to women, we clearly see the result of what is happening with the injection of women in blue collar industries. It's just a waste of time, and nothing's happening. It's slowing things down, or just in any industry, really. So yeah, it's just let's backtrack, I think, as a society and go back to what we're good at. And then if women want to still be in this position, then we need to intertwine that into society in a way to where we think it's not going to bear the same results as it did last time. And if it did, then we go back and we kind of work it, you know, because we're the problem is we're always having a change of infrastructure too fast. And because due to America being a global powerhouse of creativity and well, not really creativity, but consumerism and maybe not even consumerism, just a booming powerhouse for financial growth and economic growth. Maybe not for its people, but as a country as a whole. You know, we tend to miss out on the details. And I think if we took our time as a society, we'd be better off. The problem is we're competing with a lot of other countries, and there's so many other aspects, like political aspects, and the reasons why we can't do that. We could if everyone was on the same page, but unfortunately we're not. But that would be my vision for an ideal world. So leave in the comments on what your vision for an ideal world would be. And maybe, I don't know, that would be, I don't know, I'd like to read it. So yeah, that's what I think. No. Leave a comment. See you later.